All right, welcome back to Bwoyatingz Afterdark right here on Newstalk 93 FM. We go up until the hour of 11 p.m. And that was DJ Ramsey Nova 876 on the ones and twos. And I have a very important guest here with me this evening, Mrs. Valerie Neita Robertson, who is a prominent attorney, Queen's Counsel, and politician. Yes, she's also a past student of the Wilmer's High School for Girls and the University of West Indies, Mona. Mrs. Neita Robertson has been a practicing attorney for more than 40 years. 40 years is a long time, though.
It's a very long time.
Right. And you were appointed the Queen's Counsel in 2016. That's
correct.
Yeah. So, thank you so much for being here, by the way.
It's a pleasure.
You are a legend in my eyes. So, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you so much. We have an interesting discussion tonight.
Definitely.
And I hope you're ready, because I'm ready.
Yeah, man, it's good. It's good to talk to. Hi to all the listeners out there.
Yes.
It's good to talk because if you don't exchange views, ideas, and information, people go away with the wrong view of what is happening.
Yeah.
So it's always good to talk, and people must always remember that there are always two sides
To a story.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so we're going to get into both sides of the stories and everything. And so just for the record, you said that I can call you Valerie, so just so the people them know, say, if I hear me say Valerie, just know that. Right, please and thank you.
Yeah.
All right, so you are someone who's been in the public eye and the news a lot. You've represented legendary Vybz Cartel as well, and now this whole Kevin Smith controversial pastor. And so you've been in the news a lot for the past couple of weeks. So we're going to get into a lot of things. His story and everything that is happening is like a whirlwind. I've never seen anything like it as it relates to media coverage as well.
Well, I must tell you that I don't choose these cases,
Right.
That was
going to be my first question. Yeah, because my thing is this now, Valerie, right? How did you and this man, Mr. Smith, even came into contact? Did he reach out to you? Did you know him long time ago? What was the relation like?
No, I don't really know him. But a friend of mine in Jamaica knows his sister, and he called me and said, boy, they need help quick. Because the family didn't know what was happening, and because he knew me. And I said, yeah, sure, because I have no boundaries, no obstacles to who I represent. I represent people who are in need of representation. So unlike some attorneys who say they are not doing rape cases or they're not doing murder cases, I do all cases.
Right. So they made contact with you after what we saw on the news? Yes. Okay, noted. You said something that, unlike some attorneys, you would represent anybody basically who needs representation. That has been a conversation over the internet, that morally people are saying they understand your career, but morally, do you refuse certain cases on the basis of what is it that they're coming with? No. I
refuse a case if there's a conflict of interest.
Okay.
So I couldn't properly represent the person because I might harm their representation.
Right.
Because I might be related to them or I might hold a position that conflicts with their case.
Right. So when
and I really must tell you,
the
public's view doesn't matter one bit to me.
I know that. Well, we know that.
I don't even lose a moment's sleep.
We know that, Valerie. So my question is now, so they contacted you.
Yes.
And you saw everything on the news, and you might have heard the story firsthand of what exactly is happening.
Right.
Did that at any particular moment, were you even thinking in yourself, well, I maybe don't want to get involved in this at all? Never thought of that.
No.
All right. So then the first time you met him, he was already arrested.
Yes, he was arrested. There was another attorney, Mr. McCurdy, Henry McCurdy, in Montego Bay, because I'm mostly in Kingston.
Yes.
So I needed to have a contact there, and they had chosen him. In fact, today we were talking and we were asking each other, why were we chosen to represent this man? We just didn't know. It just came together like that. So I went down there the Monday morning, very, very early. Spoke to him.
And where was he at that time?
He was in custody at the Barnett Street
Okay.
police station.
Yes.
Yes.
And you had a conversation with him, and what was
Yes.
that conversation like?
Well, he was a little, I would say he was shocked. He told me he was shocked at what happened, how everything just blew out of proportion. And he was trying to get it all together. He wasn't sure what exactly happened because the church is a big church and it's separated. It's huge.
Right.
And there are separations like the meeting room and the baptismal area, etc., etc. So he was on the inside and he wasn't sure what had happened.
So he was not, based on what he told you, he was not in the actual room where all the acts were taking place.
That's right.
On that particular night.
That's right.
All right. So when he was explaining all of this to you now, personally, what was going through your mind?
What usually goes through my mind, I take the information and I intend to check the information. Because when I represent somebody, no matter what they tell me, I go out myself.
Yeah.
And I do my investigations and I get my information so I can fact check what they're telling me.
Yes.
If it doesn't check out, they have to give me an explanation.
So did you fact check the story of him saying that he was not in the room?
Oh,
and,
yes.
And it was factual, 100% accurate?
Well, everybody that was there indicated. And when we visited the church, where we saw blood was far removed from where he was said to be. So
Okay.
I believe that, in my mind,
Yes.
that would give me some amount of information as to how things would have played out.
Okay, and the conversation that you had that Monday, how long was it between you and him?
Oh, goodness, I've spent hours. I mean, I was there Monday, I went back Wednesday, I went back Friday.
Yes.
I was with him up to Friday. Saturday morning, they did the Q&A. So we had some pretty long sessions because what I did was to take off of social media all the various tapes, recordings of him and things that he's said to have said to check with him. How do you explain this? How do you explain that? What's the explanation? So I did spend quite a bit of time.
Okay. What exactly happened that night based on what he said? Because it just seemed as if that everything came out of thin air. Like they were there worshiping as they normally would be worshiping, or whatever rituals or whatever the case is based on what we've seen on the media. How did the police got there? Whom informed the police? Like what exactly happened based on what he said? Because
I will be honest with you, I can tell you some things.
Yes.
But I have to bear in mind as an attorney that there's another man to be tried.
Right.
And so I can't damage his case. I have to be very careful.
Yes, understood.
So I tell you in bits and pieces, really. As you said, it was the normal worship day. I think it started from Saturday, because remember Sunday is a lockdown day.
Yes.
So in his mind, if the people are on the church compound from curfew time on Saturday, then it's okay. They are there. It's just like if you go, as he said to me, it's just like if you go to a hotel and you book into the hotel. It's not your yard, but it's your residence for the time that you are there, because you are there with permission. So in his mind, he thought he was not breaching the lockdown.
Right.
So apparently they were there from Saturday. So they brought clothes and they brought food, because they have to eat and they have to change their clothes on the overnight thing. So that's why I spoke to him about that message he sent out about the ark.
Yes.
Right. That's when I knew they were calling the church the ark, because portions of it is built like the ark.
Right.
Just like when you see those flags hung up, that is reminiscent of the gay rights.
Yes.
He said, no, it's depicting the rainbow.
But did you believe that explanation though? Valerie?
Well,
When he
everybody
said
says
that-
they call the church the ark, and right now they are calling it the ark.
Okay, but then
People
based
refer
on
to
what
it as the ark.
we've been hearing from persons whom are members of the church who have come out and said their piece,
Are they?
people were allegedly.
Okay.
Right, allegedly.
This is Jamaica.
Based on what we've been hearing,
Yes,
though,
this is
they've been
Jamaica.
saying that
Yeah.
he has said to them that this ark is to save their lives based on what is going to happen. So the ark was built for what was happening that particular night. Do they do sacrifices all the time?
No, I don't believe that's what he was portraying.
How did the sacrificial rituals came into play then, based on his explanation? Even though he was not in the room,
Yes.
but it is his church. The church has cameras, so he must have known what was taking place.
All right. In relation to the two persons who died,
Yes.
I can't really go into specifics.
Right, yes.
But I believe that the impression that people have
Mm-hmm.
is not accurate.
Okay. On what
Some
basis?
of it is, some of it is not. So,
Okay.
But I can't go into it because the young gentleman who is before the court is going to have to be tried.
Are you also representing that gentleman?
No,
No, you're
there's
not.
a conflict.
Okay.
Because based on what was said by the DPP and the police, so I'm not taking any tales out of school, the young man is supposed to have said that Kevin Smith gave him instructions to
carry out
kill.
those
Precisely,
acts.
yes.
All right. So the church now, there's been a lot of talk about the view of the church and the church members. What type of church was it? Was it the regular church that I know that you go, you read the Bible, you whatever? Because we've seen a lot of clips. There's a lot of things, and it don't seem like the conventional church to me personally. It seems like a bag of excitement, and his delivery as it relates to his preachings and the monies that the church members have to give to him, and people are saying that they have to turn over their life insurance to him. The view of the church, based on what you've known from talking to him.
Remember, there were 40 odd people who were charged for breaching the
Yes.
disaster prepared the act. So both Mr. McCurdy and I have spoken to them extensively.
Yes.
The church is a Pentecostal or evangelist church, the usual church where they pray and they read the Bible and he preaches to them. Yes, his approach is not conventional, but I don't believe that he's the only preacher in Jamaica that he talks their language. So the videos that I saw,
Yes.
he was using sexual language, which is inappropriate. But they say that's how he talks to them. And they accept it as part of how he gets across to them the importance of certain things.
Okay. Based on your conversations with him also, is this the first time that a human sacrifice was taking place? Or you can't answer that question.
No. I can't answer that.
Okay.
You see, you are assuming
Right.
that there was a human sacrifice.
But there were two persons that was killed.
But this is Jamaica.
Yeah.
I could tell you many stories
Okay.
of things that people think happen, but there's a slight twist and deviation from the actual facts. But I can say this: I don't believe that there was any sacrifice that night.
Okay.
I don't believe that.
Okay.
I believe that the circumstances played out in a way, and the media has presented it that way. So of course the public is going to feel that is actually what happened.
Okay. He speaks in a lot of parables and a lot of things that he
does.
says. What exactly is that?
He
Because
does, he
I
does. Like for example, when one of the church persons was explaining to me that video in the police station,
yes.
and in fact I had to watch it a number of times, that had they watched it, they would have known that something was going to happen.
So he was basically predicting his death.
Yes. So he said things like he was born in St. Catherine,
Catherine speak and all that
right?
things. Yes.
And he got his first visitation, spiritual visitation, at age 9 in St. Catherine. And he got St. Catherine water to drink.
Yes.
And water is supposed to have some spiritual connotations
Right.
that you and I would never understand.
So based on that conversation though with the
Yes.
church members after his death, and based on their interpretation of the parables in which he was speaking in, what exactly are they saying? Was it that he was killed, or was it that
No,
because
they're
there's a
just
lot
saying
of controversy around
there
that
is,
death
and
as
we
well.
could go into all kind of connotations, but that they said he knew he was going to die.
He knew.
He knew.
But did he explain die how?
Like
Was he
how?
called by God, or was it that
Well,
he
you
was killed?
heard Dr. Henley Morgan speak about him.
Mm-hmm.
He knew him very well,
Right.
and he introduced him to certain things in Jamaica, the churches, I guess. And he said that he has prophetic powers, so he can.
So he was a prophet.
Apparently, he has these people speak about things that. And by the way, I think he prophesied something to do with UWI.
I was about
And
to
the
ask you that
Norman
too, but
Manley
yeah.
Law School.
And what exactly was that
Didn't get an
prophecy?
opportunity to ask him about
Okay.
that.
Did he explained to you that he has these gifts to prophesy or to tell the future in some way, shape, or form? Like, did he tell you about them?
He didn't. I didn't get into those details, but what he definitely did say was that at age 9, he had this spiritual
Gift.
visitation,
Okay.
and from then he has had the gift.
My thing is now, Valerie, so you've had extensive conversation with this man. You've had days of conversation, building up this case. When he came into the video clip that we saw in the police station, and based on what we've heard or now seen, he was prophesying his death. Did
Yes,
he
that's what they say.
hinted to you at any given moment that he might be killed or he might die? Did he say this to you at any point of the conversations
Okay.
that you've had?
Yeah, man. Several times.
Oh, he did?
He felt he was going to be killed.
By whom? Did he say?
He didn't really say directly, but I had a kind of inclination what he was speaking about, and that is why on the Monday morning when Mr. McCurdy and I couldn't find him, we kind of got, and we were calling the police, all the relevant police officers to get the information. We got kind of jittery. That's when I put out the press release that we can't find our client.
If it is that a client should be transferred or to be transported in any capacity, the lawyers should be advised of this, yes?
Listen, we don't run a cloak and dagger judicial system.
Yeah.
Clearly, I mean, there have been so many times that I have had to deal with issues like this. No, you're not asking for them to tell you the time and the day that they're going to take him away. But they would indicate to you, we are going to transfer this case to Kingston. Okay? They don't even have to give you the reasons. One day next week, or as soon as possible. And when we do that, we're going to charge him. And we're going to do the voluntary bill to move it straight to the circuit court.
So you weren't aware of that at all?
Not at all. None of that.
So the morning that he was being transferred to Kingston, you were not aware?
No. Had I been aware, I wouldn't have been concerned. Because I would have said, well, the police probably gone with him. So them going to call me when them reach town. Or
when did you hear the news that he passed? Or
It was about 10:30. Somebody saw something on social media and sent it to me. So I called Mr. McCurdy in Montego Bay, and he said he had heard it too, but he hadn't verified it.
Right.
But you follow social media, you see. By the time you look around, the crash vehicle was on the video, etc., etc. So by then, I saw him, so I could recognize him.
What was the last conversation you had with him, or the last interaction before he died?
The last interaction would have been the question and answer on Saturday.
Yes.
When he went to do that, Mr. McCurdy did it. And he said he needed to be taken to the doctor.
For what reason?
Because he said the soldiers and the police beat him up, and he showed us his injuries, and we were trying to get him taken to the hospital during that week.
Yes.
And we can't take him. The police would have to take him, or they would have to give us permission. When they weren't taking him, we were asking for permission to bring a doctor there because he was complaining
And that was
about the pain.
declined?
Yes.
Yes,
So
it was.
on Saturday, he complained. He said he wasn't going to do the question and answer until he was taken to the hospital. But the police insisted that they asked the questions. He didn't answer them. But asking the questions gave us an idea what they said their case was. So, and they just didn't take him.
All right. There's a lot of things surrounding him as a person as well.
Wow.
We've seen videos of him with an umbrella carrier, if I must say. Basically videos of people saying that he has servants.
Yes.
What exactly was that about? What is the umbrella
Yes.
thing and the servants and the people that might open the door and close the door? What exactly is that? Like, in his mind, does he think that he was Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior?
No, he has. The church, his congregation has never said he has said that.
Okay.
He explained the umbrella by saying that he has a skin condition.
Oh, okay.
And he showed medication. And the sun gives him this, his skin breaks out and he gets very dark spots on his face. So he either wears a hat or whenever he's out in the sun, he uses the umbrella. But I mean, the opening of doors and thing was really over the top.
Okay.
Yes.
Very. All right. So, according to a source familiar with the police interview that he did, Smith said that he would be taken away from those who were seeking to persecute him sooner rather than later. So that was basically him prophesying that they were going. Okay. Do you think that? What do you think happened
on
though?
Sunday,
Yeah.
Mr. McCurdy said when he saw him, because he was preparing to do what we call a habeas corpus on the Monday morning. That is the court, to get the court to say either charge this man or release him because he had been in custody over the 72 hours. Mr. McCurdy had already done the habeas corpus for the 40 odd people who were in custody.
Yeah.
And the court said, listen, charge these people with something by Wednesday or release them. Eventually they charged them.
Right.
And they got bail, and I think they went to court on Wednesday.
Yeah.
So when Mr. McCurdy saw him on Sunday, he told him that he was going home.
Oh.
So McCurdy thought that he meant going home to him yard.
Oh.
So
Right.
he just didn't prolong the conversation. He just says, well, let us see what the police do if they charge you or what.
What did you think happened, Valerie, in that accident? Because
You're asking me. I am not prophetic, sir.
Okay.
I don't know.
what is your
But,
assumption?
There are some unusual happenings.
Like what?
I just don't know why they drove that long route. I mean, all the explanations that have been given. Toll. Come on. How much is the toll?
In your years of service, you've never seen an escort from that side to Kingston and they had to drive that route?
Well, I mean, in the old days before they told them to
Right.
drive that route.
But no, the toll is
That's when
here.
Common sense tells you, since you are saying he's high risk, and since you are saying there are dangers, and you need to move him to Kingston, then why not the shortest, safest route?
What was the reason for the move again? Why did they say that?
They said they didn't have any money for the toll. So they had to drive the old road. So I assume that means over the hill.
Around the world.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a very long route, and the roads are bad.
We're going to take a break, Valerie. I have some more questions, and I know that my listeners would love to call in as well. All right, so we're going to take a 9:30 break, and then we're going to come back to it. Thank you once again for being here. All right, guys, so we're going to go on a 9:30 break and pay some bills. Once again, this is Bwoyatingz After Dark right here on New Stock 93 FM. All right. That was DJ Ramsey Nova 876 on the ones and twos. Welcome back to Bwoyatingz After Dark right here on Newstalk 93 FM. We go up until the hour of 11 p.m. In the next 15 minutes or so, I'll start taking the calls. I still have here Mrs. Valerie Neita Robertson herself. And we're speaking about the Kevin Smith fiasco. There's a lot of things that I still need to get asked, or still need to ask you. The reason, I think that you've touched on it just a little bit. The explained reason they were moving him from Montego Bay to Kingston was what exactly?
The DPP was of the view that he was high risk and that they couldn't accommodate the matter in Montego Bay.
Right.
I suppose they were anticipating crowds and demonstrations like they are doing in the gang case in Kingston. The only thing is that there have been no demonstrations. Nobody has come to the police station to disrupt the proceedings. No members have been pushing their head out there. To the contrary, they are hiding. And that was one of the concerns I had when I put out the release, that you cannot treat the congregation like that. You're stigmatizing them. You cannot do that because you haven't spoken to any of them. People are coming to say they were members of the church, but are they? Okay, so I think a psychologist or psychiatrist today put out a release saying that they must treat the members of the church with compassion.
Right.
Because a lot of them are distraught. And I think you saw that the church, there were smells coming from the church. Persons broke in there and took away food items.
And they burned a part of the church.
Right.
They did not do that, yes?
Yes. And
Okay.
and it's because nobody wants to go there because they feel they are going to be stigmatized. They're
Right.
going to be beaten up or assaulted, whatever. So
There is still an ongoing case. Can a dead man be charged? Because what exactly is happening pertaining to the case, though? There's a lot of things that we're hearing and we're not really.
Okay,
there's no clarity.
Listen, the law is not an ass.
Right.
You can't charge a dead man. I even found an authority for Diane Jackson Miller when I spoke to her. It's a case from England and Wales, Court of Appeal called Turk. And they specifically, I brought it for you, they specifically say that criminal prosecution should not be pursued against those who have died. And they went on to say the court observed that critical to criminal justice process is that trials are neither initiated nor pursued against those who have died. So if in the middle of a case a man dies, that's the end of the case if he's the only person charged. The only way it goes on is if there are other persons before the court, and of course you have to finish the case. His death would not disturb that. So the police gave an explanation that they needed to close the file, so they needed to establish the charges. Okay? That's ridiculous. They really wanted, it was all part of putting out there for the public what they intended to charge him for and didn't get the opportunity to do it because of their own negligence. And all part of just demonizing who this man was.
There's also, I've read it somewhere that his family was thinking of suing. Of it, yes?
Yeah, well,
on what grounds?
Negligence
Okay.
of transporting him, because even the vehicle was, well, I don't even want to, that is something that is done so regularly.
Okay.
In the police force, the vehicles they transport persons in and the way they drive.
Right.
And I hope they have learned a lesson from this.
Would you advise them to go further as it relates to suing?
Well, I've given them the advice of what is possible.
And what is possible?
Not possible.
What is possible? If you can share.
Yes, they can sue.
Okay.
They can sue.
And what is not possible?
Well, they don't have to.
Okay.
There's no trial anymore. They can sue for negligence.
Mm-hmm.
They have to take that decision. But right now, I can tell you, they are very distraught. They don't know the Kevin Smith that is being portrayed in the media.
Mm-hmm.
There are other bishops and church people all over the world who don't know that Kevin Smith, and of course, the family wants answers. What happened? Did he go berserk?
Mm-hmm.
Was he overcome by something that they can't explain? What really happened that caused all of this to reach where it?
There are also some headlines that I've seen about the whereabouts of his body. Do you know where exactly?
Oh yes,
his
I
body
don't
is?
know where it is.
Have you
Yes.
seen it?
No, I have not seen it, but other persons have.
His family members.
Yeah, I don't like to look at dead bodies.
Okay.
I must tell you.
So his family
Not my
members can
favorite.
confirm that it was him and
Yes,
it is
it's
there.
him. It's him. And he's
Also,
dead.
we've seen where the churches want the remains of his body to do their own funeral or something like that. I've seen as
I
well.
don't know of that because
Okay.
the family. He's a Canadian citizen.
So he's going back to Canada.
He has his Canadian passport. The Canadian embassy spoke to Mr. McCurdy because they couldn't reach me. So I know that he was not deported. You couldn't deport a Canadian citizen as his
Okay, but
passport,
speaking
yes.
of being a Canadian citizen and deportation, is it that he ran from the charges that the allegations against him
Okay,
about the
family
molestation
doesn't-
and things like that?
Family doesn't know about his running away from it.
Are the
I'm
cases
trying
real?
That is a good question. I asked the DPP, I wrote to them and requested the information so I could check it myself because I looked on the sexual offenders list for Canada, and although there were the name Kevin Smith was there, about 3 or 4 people, I didn't see any for him. So now I am saying as a lawyer, and I need to check it, this sexual assault, because sexual assault can mean touching in a sexual manner, can be touching.
All right.
So
I'm
that
gonna
is why the sentence is
Yeah.
so lenient, and maybe because of the sentence, it did not go on a list because it was not deemed
So
to be as
technically,
serious.
the act
Yes.
did happen. Because based on what I'm
Yes.
seeing here, I'm going to just read something for you. So Smith was convicted in Ontario on November 5, 2007 on 1 count of sexual assault and served 6 months in prison, the DPP said. Probation orders up to 10 years were also made. However, the orders were breached in August 2017 and Smith was given a suspended sentence and additional probational orders for 18 months in Toronto. So is that statement true? Did the act actually
That
happen?
I
Was
don't
he
know. I'm
charged
trying
any
to
at
check
all?
that because I believe the church started here in 2012.
Okay.
So that wouldn't, it's the first I'm seeing that. That wouldn't make sense to me. So I would need to check that. But I did write and ask for.
So
the
if it is that you've
information.
checked it and it's actual factual,
Yes.
would you say publicly that?
Yes, yeah, man.
Okay.
I don't hide facts.
So those allegations also about him sexually assaulting young men, and then with what we've now seen about him in today's day and age, he has a lot of young boys around him as
Yes,
well. There's a lot
that
of
is
people in his camp that are younger men. A lot of people, can now see videos and pictures, and then the flags and all the excitement.
Yes.
Do you
Let
think
me
that
ask you
there's
to
a possibility?
Look at it this way.
Yes.
If he's gay,
Mm-hmm.
that is an issue
Right.
that would impact on him if he were being charged for that offense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Having a lot of young boys around, if he had a lot of young girls around, I mean, it could impute certain things too. So, half a dozen of one and 6 of the other.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And we have to accept that sexual offenses do not often come to the fore readily,
Right.
because people tend to hide the fact
Mm-hmm.
that they are involved in this. But none of the church members I spoke to could actually substantiate complaints, sexual interference complaints against young men, basically pedophiles.
But then if someone has a history, whether or not the history is written
you
in
don't
the
know,
history
you see,
books, but
because
allegation,
you're
allegedly.
looking at it one way.
Right.
All
So my
right,
question is, though,
all
Valerie, right?
Suppose
Allegedly.
it is just sexual touching. Let me just, for
Right.
example, I'm not saying that it was it is.
Yes.
Because people like to misquote me. Suppose it
True.
was merely a sexual touching
Yes.
between him and the complainant
Mm-hmm.
that was not meant in a particular way, but the court was satisfied
Mm-hmm.
that was what happened.
Right.
How would you view that?
But then outside of the courts, Valerie,
Yes.
right? I'm looking at it now as a human being, right? I didn't study law. So I'm looking at it now as me.
Yes.
So there are allegations against you that you've molested, you've sexually assaulted young men. And now, in your big age now, 2021, there are a lot of young boys who are around you that just looks very suspect. There are young boys not only at your church, at your home, there are young boys, also around you all the time. So a lot of people now are kind of looking at it like, were you using your status? Yes, money and all the things that you can offer to lure in these men.
All right, let me say this. Not necessarily.
Okay.
It is possible.
Yeah.
And all these things are subject to information that would make you factual material that would make you form that view. But it is highly possible that is what was happening there and then, because in the Catholic Church we have, I think the other day the Pope came out to castigate members of his church who have been involved.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's not anything that is that we can say churches do not get involved in that. In fact, quite the contrary. So it is highly possible. I can't say.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, the interviews that you've heard from the alleged past members or current members of the church, you've kind of alluded to something earlier that it's a possibility that they're not true, which is understandable.
Yeah.
Because nothing was fact checked or anything of that sort. But a lot of former members of the church have publicly shared their horrific stories of abuse and controlling tendencies by Mr. Smith. Now, I'm going to give you an instance. I'm not sure if you're aware of this. Last year, there was a young lady who came to Jamaica, she and her family, and she was trapped into this home. This was before the fiasco with Mr. Smith, by the way.
Yes.
So it's not like she came out afterwards. She actually came out last year, and I remember reading it. I spoke with her over the internet, and she gave her story. Right. She and her family were trapped in his home, and all the excitement. So it kind of showed now that it's a pattern. So it's a possibility that you have these tendencies to be very controlling and have a history of abuse.
Was she a member of the church?
No, she was not.
What was she doing at the
She rented his house at the Airbnb.
From who did she rent it?
From him, based on what she had said.
No.
What exactly was that story?
I specifically spoke to him about that because I was very concerned about the perception, right? And he said that the house was owned by some persons in Miami, Jamaican Americans, and it was up for sale, and he bought it. But before they were using it for Airbnb. So before he became the owner, this lady was there based on having paid her money to the previous owners. And so when he got possession of the property, and if you understand how a sale is done, it's done over a period of time. It's not done in one day. Right. So when he got his papers to say he's now the owner, and he went to the house, she was there, and they had a conversation, about her staying there and paying him for the period that because he was now the owner.
Right.
And at one point, he said that he got information that she was trying to leave the premises without paying him, and I believe the police were called.
Right.
And when the police came, they said, well, he's the owner.
But then under the basis that she would have paid the previous owners to stay there for him to come, Valerie, as layman as possible, all right? So if you're selling your home and I pay you to stay there as an Airbnb and somebody else now owns the home, I would tell the person, well, go take that up with Valerie. Like, this has nothing to do with me because I've already paid you. So am I going to pay you and also pay Mr. Smith?
Well, if you want to stay in the property.
Well, then she was trying to leave as well, though.
Your responsibility.
But then why was she trying to leave and he was still trying to let her stay on the premises? Because he was saying he need the money before she left.
He denied trying to let her stay. He says, pay me for the period that you're in here now. I'm the owner.
Yes.
And that's okay for me.
Yeah.
Whether she gets it back from the people she paid it to or not. She could have paid him and she could have gotten a reimbursement in the United States where she lives. Okay. Very simple.
Are you familiar with this Kevin Grant person?
Who is Kevin Grant?
So Kevin Grant is alias Big Dog. I'm not sure if you've seen the video on the internet where this man was drinking the goat blood.
Oh no.
Out of the head.
But it's not Montego Bay.
Right.
It's another parish.
However, based on investigation, they believe that Grant had paid a huge sum in seeking spiritual protection from the late Kevin O. Smith, as Grant is a major player in the scamming industry.
Yeah.
So then, no.
Unfortunately, sir.
Yeah, you don't know anything about that.
And Mr. Smith is dead. I can't even ask him. Imagine that.
Okay. Yeah. That's what I wanted to ask. I mean, this is something that we've seen. Yeah.
Yeah. Listen. Jamaicans spin very beautiful tales. Mm-hmm. It's called veranda talk. When you go on social media, some of the things that are said, it's amazing.
Yeah.
People are saying things about me, like I was looking for the body and couldn't find it. And nobody asked me, but they just assume. So Jamaica is a very colorful country. I love my people. The language is colorful. The music is colorful. How we dress is colorful. And unfortunately, all of this impacts upon what people say about incidents. Some of them are not. I go to court every day. Yeah. And it's something that I complain about. What you read in the media about a case in court is not what happens in court. And that is why, let me finish, that is why when a jury comes back with a not guilty verdict, people say, but how could that be? Because this is what happened or supposed to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of the media, is the media trying to silence your responses or trying to not hear exactly what you have to say about this matter?
The media usually, I spoke with Dion Jackson Miller. It was a good conversation. I spoke with Clive Mullings. You are the first person who has asked me to be so fulsome in this matter. But, what should I say about the media? I believe in freedom of speech.
Yes.
I do. But the media knows, what their agenda is to sell news.
Yes.
And the more outrageous it is the more news they sell.
Yeah.
So that's their business. But the problem I have is that when somebody is going to be tried in a court, jurors come from the public. So you have to be careful how far you go in putting out a narrative that will prejudice the mind of persons. Yeah.
Speaking of the media, there are some pictures that were resurfaced with him and a lot of celebrities, athletes, a lot of people, which is fine because I assume that he's been somebody who's been in the industry. However, the association or affiliation with or to the People's National Party in which you're associated with.
Yes.
What is the relationship like? Because it seems like he is friends or friendly with a lot of the members of the People's National Party, is he not?
Well, I think they just showed one picture with Portia.
Okay.
But you know, Sister P loves everybody. She hugs everybody.
Yes.
That's her, what endears her to people.
Mm-hmm.
But Kevin was well known by a lot of people, a lot of celebrities.
Mm-hmm.
I said, you just heard Dr. Morgan
Mm-hmm.
come out and speak about him. People from Africa call me about him because they have had very good relationship with him. His family is surprised at all of this information that is coming out in terms of what was happening at the church. It's not somebody they know. Even the church members are saying, listen, we know this man for how many years, and what they are portraying is not the person we know. He gave a lot of scholarships to people. He sent a lot of people to the University of the West Indies, to UTech, to school. He fed a lot of persons. So the picture they are giving of him is not a fulsome picture.
Right. What about the allegations about the insurance things and people that take out mortgage on them house and,
But people,
and all that? Did you ask him about those things?
yes, I did ask him about
And what was his response?
people in churches today, for some strange reason, do these things. People write in their wills and leave everything they have to the church and not their family. That's nothing unusual.
So basically you're saying that he did not deny those allegations?
No, he did not deny it.
Okay. Well, I mean, Valerie.
Ask, man. Ask any question that comes to your mind.
Outside of being an attorney, right,
Yeah.
Valerie, I've grown up in the church, right?
Yes.
So,
Me too.
right. I've never heard my pastor advise anybody to take out any mortgage, to put them on no insurance as the beneficiary of
No,
any
he didn't. He
sort.
has never done that.
But the mortgage thing and the things
Yeah,
them and put
because
them
people
on will.
voluntarily
But
do
you're supposed to
those
say
things.
no if you're a man of God. So
Well-
outside of being an attorney, what was your thoughts about that though? Like, did you not look at this to say, but this is kind of
No,
strange?
it cannot, because I read widely. I'm widely experienced.
And you've seen
of
this a lot in
churches-
Jamaica.
Yeah, and overseas, all over the world, people leave millions of dollars
To their
to
pastors.
their church. It's left to the church. It's nothing unusual for them. People all leave money to them dog.
But the dog is okay because the dog now tell me say I must do it. This is somebody now who is telling me to do it.
No,
you know,
I don't-
we've seen videos
no,
of this
no,
man
no,
saying,
no.
when they're late for church and I forgot pay me to believe. I'm not coming to your school, sir. So,
Well, neither would I go.
right.
But why did they go?
So do you think that do you think that these people were under, I wouldn't want to say a spell, you know.
Yes.
I don't want to use that word as spell, but technically,
Yes.
do you think that they were under a spell from this
So
man,
many
like based
people-
on the promises that he was giving them? Because based on what I've heard, and I'm not going to say that I believe the allegations, all of them, nor am I going to say the former members of the church, everybody that has come out and said, hey, I'm going to believe them because there's no,
Yeah.
background check.
Right.
But just based on what everybody that have said that they've left this church, they've left because of these same things that we're
many
now seeing
people have said
resurfacing. But I've seen about
Out of
5 to 10
four-
interviews.
Out of how much 100,000 members, how many have said that?
So all the 42 persons that you've interviewed,
Yes.
nobody had give any inclination of
No.
anything.
No.
Couldn't this not be that they
Or
just
they were
believe
brainwashed?
that they're just brainwashed and they just believe in this man like, hey,
Yeah, but how many Jamaicans believe in their parsons? It's a problem I've had over the years. They literally worship their
because he's
parsons.
telling us that he has magical powers, so clearly I'm going to believe in you because area tell me say if
Well.
I give him a house that means say prosperity, yeah,
Well, that's
I'm not
why
going to live
people-
forever,
that's
I'm not going
why-
to good.
That's why some people say they throw tithes. A portion of their salary
To go
goes
to the church, to the
every
church,
Sunday.
to the church,
Yeah,
for
but
the building of the church.
Well, let me, as you stitch on that, he mortgaged his house to build that church there.
Did he?
Yes, he mortgaged.
Which one of his houses?
He has 2 houses and
He does.
Ironshore, and he mortgaged them. Okay? And that can be proven easily.
So he mortgaged them to assist with the church.
To build the church.
Okay.
That's where the money came from. Bank loaned him the money and he had to give collateral.
Yes.
So he gave his property.
Okay.
Yeah. But when you throw tithe to a church, what do you think they do with it?
Goes to the building of the church.
No, baby, no.
I mean,
don't be naive. It pay the pastor
Yes.
because him have to have a job, him have to support himself and him have family. Right? So he gets a salary from that. And it goes to maintain the church, to feed people, to help with school fees. That's where the money comes from.
Or it goes into the mansions and the vehicles and the things, no?
It can do that because we have seen a lot of that, especially overseas, where people even have jets.
But then you're preaching to me and I am giving you my tithes and my offering and I'm suffering, and here you are in a mansion.
Yes. But that's what people do.
Yeah.
You and I wouldn't do that. But that's what people do. I've been to a church at a christening and I see them roll out 3 big pan drums. And by the time you look around, it is full. People come with envelopes because they give their money every month, I think, or every week.
Right.
And in that envelope, you will be surprised what is on the checks.
All right, Valerie. I think I've asked everything that I wanted to do. So we're going to go on a 10 o'clock break, and after we come back, then we're going to start taking some calls from our listeners.
Okay.
I hope you're ready for that.
Oh, yeah, man. Yeah.
I know that they're ready to ask some questions. All right, guys, so we're going to go on our 10 p.m. break. This is Bwoyatingz Afterdark right here on Newstalk 93 FM. Come back to Bwoyatingz Afterdark right here on Newstalk 93 FM. We go up until the hour of 11 p.m. We're here every Tuesday night, 8 to 11 o'clock. We're here with the Valerie Neita Robertson, the legendary attorney at law, Queen's Counsel herself. Valerie, that was a discussion.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Let me say, though, to the persons whom are going to be calling in, despite your views, remember to still be respectful. We're on the radio, and don't bother going with the foolishness. I beg. Oh, yeah. Please and thank you. So once again, guys, the contact numbers are 876-212-9824 or 876-462-0919. Once again, 876-212-9824 or 876-462-0919. We're speaking about the now deceased controversial pastor, Kevin Smith, and his legal representative, or was his legal representative. She's here. So if you have any questions about the matter, or if you were paying attention to the conversation earlier, I said that we're number 1 and number 5 trending on Twitter, and a bugger excitement. So I know that you guys have a lot of things to say. I cannot read the responses because it's a lot. It's over 1,500 tweets. So if you have anything to ask, or any clarification that you might need, or anything to add to this matter, then you can call in. Yeah. Martha, I can put it on the spot.
You can read some of the tweets. I can't answer them.
Can I?
Yes.
Oh.
Let's choose anyone.
Well, I mean. Well, they're basically just speaking about the whole churches thing.
Yes.
Your take on the tithes and offerings. A lot of persons were in disagreement to the statement.
Okay.
So,
But it's true.
Yeah.
It is true.
But don't pastors get paid? Do they?
By who?
I'm asking. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's what they collect from the church.
So their pay is from the church?
Yeah, man. The
Yes?
church. Yes, it's a fact.
Okay.
It's a fact.
Have I called David?
And the reason a lot of people give me as to why they throw tithes is because they get it back. The Lord blesses them and they get it back twofold. So there's a reason why they give it. Because if they give, they will get back in abundance. I don't say the principle is wrong,
Here's the thing, though.
Yes.
About tithes and offering, I do understand the principalities of it all.
Yes.
Right?
It's to help those who
I
don't
get it.
have.
But my thing is, when you're going to present it in a way like, if you don't throw your tithes, God is not going to bless you. Or if you pay this amount, then I can give you X amount. That's what I don't agree with. And based on his teaching or practices or preachings, that's how it might have seemed based on what I've seen.
But it's not the only church in Jamaica.
But Valley, but me not got other church for hear this, in me I hear this from.
Yeah,
Somebody have to talk about him.
No, but then you must ask, what is the norm among these types of churches?
Yeah, but I've been to many churches before. I mean, yes,
the traditional churches don't behave that way.
Right,
Yes.
but then I'm still asking for the tithes and offerings, Yes, they're still asking for it, but they don't do it in a condescending way to make it seem like, well, if you don't have it today, that means you're not get the house, or if you bring this set amount, then I can make you get 10 times this amount.
But
so if you pay 100,000, I can make you get $1 million.
Yes.
That for me sounds like Obi. I mean, I don't know. But as I say, it seems like Obi to me. It seems like a lot of practices that I might not, be in belief in, and that's what he's about, based on what I've seen.
Well, is Kevin, the question you're going to ask, does he have a lot of money? The answer to that from his attorney is no. And all the perception that I am being well paid is crap. Okay?
I mean,
no, if I see people have that perception out there,
yes,
and I know the reality, what you expect me to think?
So then he showed you his financial statements and everything, did he?
No, he's going to show a lawyer financial statement.
But then you said that does he have a lot of money, which would allude to
of the estate.
Okay.
Yes, I would have an idea.
And he does have a lot of money.
No.
But I mean, a lot of money is very relative, I can say. I mean, a lot of money to you and to what I might say, a lot of money might be very relative. Like you might say,
if you're collecting $100,000 a day or a week, people are of the view that he has a lot of money.
There was a figure that was
yes, that was put out there.
Do you remember that figure? It was millions per week, was it not? Can somebody just find that information for me, please? I would appreciate it. Yes.
I don't see that.
You don't see it.
I don't see
But it's a possibility that he just did not have this in the bank or anything. Yes.
It's not fully paid for.
So it's still being paid for.
It's still being paid for.
How long was the church there? Or has the church since 2012, you said earlier?
Well, I know he started the church, but I believe they started very simply, like, the usual tent and thing, and then it builds up. So I don't know exactly when that church was built.
Okay.
But it's not completed.
I'm not trying to...
And I know as a fact
yes,
that the land is not fully paid for.
Okay. Well, somebody says that, thank you, Kareem, for making her so fulsome. Well, you don't know the vibes. So that, I was asking the right questions. Yeah, as per usual. There are lots of comments.
You're a good journalist.
In which, but thank you so much for that. I appreciate it coming from you. Thank you. I don't know, Valerie. It just seems like a lot of confusion, on his end,
it's bizarre.
And the videos and things that are being presented.
Yes,
it's not helping his case any at all.
It is, but he's dead, so he has no case.
Well, I was about to say that to him, but I never want to say it.
I mean,
I never want to be the one to say it still,
yes,
but
what has happened is bizarre. Some things cannot be explained.
Yes.
I don't delve into the metaphysics, so I don't know, but some things are bizarre. I mean, how he just dies before coming before a court, which I was looking forward to. But
do you think that you had a case in terms of...
Yes.
Could he be a free man?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
I don't know, you're a very good lawyer, Valerie. I must say that, but... Let
me tell you why I succeed in my cases. And to all those out there who put in some win no case. I lie on our tail. But what is happening now, there has been a lot of that. You remember the pregnant one from St. Thomas that was killed by the policeman?
Yes.
Yes. When everybody said plead guilty or plead guilty to at least manslaughter. And my client gave me his instructions and I went and dug up. And I found a video that was taken by a gentleman from Canada who was in the square. And the video showed what happened, just as my instructions were. And a lot of people were upset because at the verdict, it was a unanimous verdict. Not one of the jurors said guilty. And it's because what you Remember, you are looking on. You don't know Kevin Smith.
Mhm.
Kevin Smith.
Yes.
You have not been to the church. You
Mhm.
don't see things that I see.
Mhm.
You don't talk to people that I talk to.
Mhm.
So you have the perception that the main media puts out there, and people embellish it and add to it. So it's really a false perception. I can present the actual facts and the real perception, and that is how people succeed in cases.
But
You don't
speaking of
try to
successful
prove-
cases, Valerie.
You don't try to prove
Mhm.
the obvious
Mhm.
wrong.
Yes.
You work with what is right.
Okay.
And if the obvious, like your perception of something, is accurate, you work with that and you carry it to its obvious conclusion, which might not be the conclusion that you have made.
Right.
Right.
But speaking of successful or unsuccessful cases,
Yeah.
Vibes Cartel. When you made a post that you were very positive, confident that he would have
and
been
I
free.
still am positive.
But Valerie, it's been years now. What's happening?
Well, you see, you have to understand that my view
Yes.
is that he should have at least, he would have ended up with at least a retrial.
So what's happening with that?
Remember now that the arguments that go to England Privy Council is the same arguments that the team of lawyers presented here,
Yes.
that is going there. So let us see.
So is it going there? Is
yeah,
there
it's there
a
now.
date? What's happening? What?
happening?
Yes.
I gather they are preparing their arguments for the court.
hmm
So it will take some time.
Are you still his representative?
No, I'm not.
Why?
He fired me.
Why? Because you were unsuccessful.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, you were so confident. You were very confident.
Well, you can't guarantee anything,
Mhm.
There's no guarantee I can give a client, and I never do,
All right. I'm going
that you
to
will be successful.
I'm
And
going
if you
to
think about it,
I'm going to
no
come back
guarantee.
to the Vibes Cartel case
Yeah.
shortly, but this was an article put out by the Jamaica Gleaner as it relates to that he makes $1 million per week from offerings,
Yes.
consultations, and spiritual encounters. The Gleaner has learned Smith, who assumed his title as a spiritual advisor, then, so to speak. Yes.
Embellishment. I don't see that money.
So is it a fact or a case that you have not seen it because he has not showed you this?
But it has to be somewhere. And since I'm doing the estate,
Did they search his house?
yes.
Both houses? Yes.
Yes.
And they have not found this money.
No.
So where this article came from then that, he's making $1 million
And
per
they're
week or
just
close to.
embellishing it. People are saying it's just people perception. But there's no reality to it.
What if it is that something might comes up in the future that shows proof that, yes, he was actually making $1 million per week? Would you retract your statement?
Of course.
Yes. Okay. All right. Davian.
Fact is fact.
For caller? Okay. All right. So, thank you so much for calling Bwoyatingz After Dark. My name is Kareem. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hi, Kareem. My name is Emma.
Hi, Emma. How are you doing?
I'm calling from Tennessee tonight.
From Tennessee. Pick up yourself, foreign
I'm
friend.
doing well.
All right.
Good night.
Good night.
Let's see. Good night, everybody else in the studio.
Good night.
I don't know. Like, you've been asking all my questions, but based on how I'll ask them, there's a bit of spin on it. So let me just get into it. Let me ask Miss Valerie some questions now. So my first question, of course, Kareem just mentioned that briefly, the controversy surrounding Vibes Cartel's case. Why are you so confident about this case regarding Kevin Smith?
Because
said
I have
yes.
gotten instructions which you have not gotten.
Mm-hmm.
And I have checked some of the things. So, as I said, fact is fact. And what you do when you get instructions, you see, you try to find the material to support it.
Mm-hmm.
So that when
Well,
you
that's
are
true.
sitting before me, it's very much like a debate. When you are
I know.
before me, I have to convince you that this is true. So I have to present the facts to you and show the supporting material. And facts won't lie. Gossip will lie.
Yeah,
Yes, gossip will
Well,
lie.
yes,
And
yes,
people
you're
drawing
definitely
conclusions from things they hear and don't really
yeah.
know will mislead you.
Well, true. All right, no problem. So, I know you mentioned earlier on that, you don't lose any sleep at nights,
I don't.
right? And I know that, being a lawyer is very stressful, especially if it's relating to criminal law.
Yeah.
But doesn't it somewhat make you uncomfortable representing the accused, especially with the stories surrounding,
Not at all.
him sexually
If
assaulting
if
somebody?
I felt uncomfortable, I would not have done criminal law. Criminal law, I love it. I live every day in the court, and it it it. I mean, I like fighting for people who want justice. However, do
Okay.
not feel that I win all my cases. I have lost many,
Yeah, that
and I
I
have
know.
pleaded
You
people guilty.
so
I have
you
given
say-
pleas.
Mhm.
Yeah, man, I've given pleas for people who tell me, say I'm guilty. Because remember, there's a code of ethics, in the profession,
Right.
And if a client tell me he's guilty, how me I go to court now, go pretend say the man not guilty and represent
Well,
arguments?
true.
I don't do those things. Yes, I
Right.
plead, but I do very well with mitigation. So a judge might
Right.
want to give the man 25 years, and I persuade the judge to give him 18. That's a win for me.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So, it has been said that the public is being misled by reports about, the criminal charges against the late pastor. But we've seen videos, Miss Valerie. We've heard witnesses, especially, young men from the church, speak out. So, what then are we left to believe? I know
Are
that
you sure
mentioned
those
that-
people are from the church?
Well, yes.
When
that's
I
a
heard the
question that
story
you
from
have
the
to
lady
ask.
about being padlocked in the premises, I was shocked. And then I said, man, how you could do something? And then when I got the information, you can't padlock somebody in a premises and call the police. That makes sense to you?
Yeah, but
Just think
I'm not
about it.
talking about that, right, with the young lady, right? That's different. But of course,
Oh, you mean the
there
young
were
lady
videos.
who lost her life?
No. I'm just saying that there has been some videos, right, circulating with young men speaking out. Even the one with the young man talking about him taking out, insurance policy,
Yeah.
right? And then the story surrounding him, he was supposed to be killed so that the accused could have gotten money from his insurance policy. I mean, what then are we left to believe?
Are you
Because
sure,
it's really
darling?
daunting.
Okay.
hmm
Are you sure that that's an accurate and truthful account? In the absence of the facts, you cannot be. So I know Kareem, and if Kareem tells me that he was there and this happened, then I can accept it because I know him.
Okay.
Do you know any of these
Right.
people? When we ask
Right,
the
we don't
church
know the
people about them,
but-
nobody knows
Right.
them.
Right,
How,
but
listen,
Miss
just
Valerie,
all right. Let me just ask you this: how can you
Right.
be going to a church where you're paying 100,000? The first thing is where you get the 100,000 from. That's the first thing.
True.
The next thing is
But
this:
people
how
from
you
the
going to
means
church,
to
sleeping on a floor, and getting
Uh-huh.
two some like a sardine gravy and mackerel gravy pan rice, and you still a go?
Was
For how
mackerel
long?
gravy and dumplings. Mackerel
Yes.
gravy
Yeah,
and
but-
dumplings.
And you
But
still a
hold
go?
on, hold
I
on.
would not go.
Wait, that's true, Miss Valerie.
It's not
but that's
logical
you.
to me.
But then it is not logical to you.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, like, you are a well-read woman. And based on what we've seen, we're left to feel like the accused was taking advantage of naive individuals. So, I mean, you argue that the media is driving this narrative, but from the outside looking in, he seems evil. And then you
Well-
said that you are very good at litigation, right? But
Yes.
I'm not being convinced that he's not, or he didn't do all these things. And of course, you mentioned that it's facts. But the videos that I'm seeing, it's convincing me that this man was.
Yes. All right, because you
very
think
much
differently
evil.
from me. You can't convince me unless I have the facts. I
Okay,
can't hear
all right, no
somebody
problem.
talking. Otherwise, I couldn't be a lawyer, darling. I could not be a lawyer.
Well,
I
that
could
is
not
true. I'm
act
not-
upon things that people, you know
You
the
are
word
very-
hearsay? You know the
great
hearsay
lawyer.
principle?
Right?
Yes.
You are very successful at what you do. So, like, I'm just asking a few questions here
Sure,
based
man.
on, my concern. And then, of course, the last one, right? So you mentioned that criminal charges. Well, does criminal charges really die with the accused? Can't they be charged if the body is still at the mortuary?
No, darling, you can't charge a dead man. So when you caution him, what him going to say?
You know,
He
sir.
say you're not obliged to say anything, but anything you say will be taken down in writing. It's common sense.
But
The
there are
law
lots
is
of
not an
loopholes in the
ass.
law.
You see?
It's not, but there are a lot of loopholes.
No, that is why you must accept everything anybody tells you. Even me, continue to question what I say. Don't have a problem with that. But I am going to continue to question what other people say too, unless I know from a reliable source that this is so.
Yeah,
So what
but
you are doing is you are
asking a question.
accepting all these
Yeah,
things
what
because
the public might
you
be
see
saying,
it.
so.
Yes, but
Right.
some of
But
them,
then at the
some of
end
them you
of the
must
day, the
question
more
them. That because it's
convincing
not logical.
argument, I am questioning it too. So I have a question for you.
Sure.
Do you really have the facts to prove that this man was really not evil? Because you mentioned that, okay, we should have the facts.
But
So
listen,
I'm really looking forward to how,
Yes.
this web is actually spun.
yes, there's good. It's a fact that in this world there is good and there is evil. Unfortunately, I don't have any radar that can tell me what is good and evil. Now, he's being charged for murdering 2 people, which he instructs me he never
But
did.
did he really commit the murder though? Was it his hands that murdered the people? Was
Apparently,
it somebody
apparently,
or
at
less?
least everybody agrees on that.
No, I didn't see him commit the murder, So
Yes.
that's what I'm saying. You
They are
ask questions,
saying-
I have my questions.
They are
too.
saying he instructed the young man to do it. Yes. That's what they say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Miss
And that's
Valerie,
why the
I think I've
charges,
heard.
that's why those
Yeah.
charges by the police.
And I mean, in my honest, and humble opinion, you mentioned it before. You wouldn't go to a church to sleep on a floor and eat mackerel gravy and one dumpling. But at the end of the day, like when people see that they're able to take advantage of others, they really and truly do it, because if people see that someone is gullible, then they will go ahead and say, okay, let me take advantage of this person's naivete. Let me ensure that, I can get everything that I possibly can get out of them. So
Yes.
like that within itself is an argument too.
Well,
Miss Valerie. And at the end of the day, right, you're saying that we should not be convinced by what's out there. We should wait on facts. But again, you also said that it's the more convincing argument. And it's so sad that what we're hearing out there is more convincing than what you
Because
can
you
tell
have
us,
never
and
heard
you're
the
one
other
that presents
side.
the truth.
You have not heard the other
I'm
side.
hearing
I'm the
hearing the
only
other
one
side
who is
from you,
speaking because the members of the church are deadly afraid of what the public will do to them because of what they perceive, which, by the way, is not fair to them. It's not fair to them. They are good people who were going to that church. And whatever Kevin Smith did or did not do, they should not be tarnished by it. Okay?
Well, that part we can definitely agree on.
We
the
agree on
people should not be
something. That's
tarnished.
good.
Yeah, we do agree on something, but it was lovely talking to
Yes.
you. Though.
But can I invite you to look at the other side? Is there something that the people of Jamaica can learn from this incident in relation to their faith and their commitment to it? Is there something they can learn from this experience that will help us to be a better country?
Learn. I mean, yeah, most definitely. So what I have learned personally from this is that many people are going to a church and worshiping a man and not God, for one.
That's right.
For two, I have also learned that, it's not everything that you see out there is true. And of course, I mean, talking about psychosocial stages, we learned about trust and mistrust first. So naturally, I would question everything that I hear, but I would leave Miss Valerie and say that at the end of the day, it's a more convincing argument. And the media is doing a good job to convince us that this man was a terrible person.
Yeah, well, that's
So while you
the
are
role of the
inviting
media.
people-
That's how they sell their newspapers.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But anyways, you know what? It was lovely talking to you.
Thank you
It
so
was
much,
great
Emma.
talking
Thank
to
you.
you in Tennessee.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, Emma, thank you so much, though.
All right, no problem.
All right. Yeah, Ems. Miss Valerie, can you confirm, was there any mental evaluation done on the members of the church in any capacity?
No, you can't invade them like that. We could have done one on Kevin Smith.
Was one
I
done,
would have
no?
had no, we just didn't. But
Okay.
the members, you couldn't invade their privacy.
Okay.
Yes, like that.
I know we have a call on the line, but we're going to have to go to our 10:30 break. So we're going to continue the conversation right after the break. Once again, this is Bwoyatingz After Dark right here on News Talk at 93 FM. Thank you for calling Bwoyatingz After Dark. My name is Kareem. What's your name and where you're calling from?
All right, King Flex.
Yes,
night,
King Flex.
Good night to everybody in the studio.
Night.
I just have a few questions for the QC.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so my first question to you, QC. With the case so big in the media, did you think that the potential jury was tainted and could have given you an unfavorable outcome?
You mean in respect of Kevin
Yes.
Smith?
Yes, yes.
Yes. Yeah, I was very concerned about that.
All right. My next question to you is, with the head of the church in out, which is Kevin out now, was there anything in place for probably a senior member to move up and leave the church that you would have to enforce?
Yeah, well, there are two aspects to it. I believe there were persons in place, but everybody is now afraid to go.
Okay, and when
And
that time...
I believe that the church has some connection to the church in Africa, churches in Africa, and I believe that there are persons who knew Kevin very well and might be willing to fill the gap and to, yes.
Okay, so when that time comes, you will have to ensure that his will are followed, right?
No, man, it will be completely. He's dead and gone. There's nothing.
Okay.
Yes.
All right,
But I believe the
so-
church is an arm of another church. So
Okay.
logically,
All right.
they would, yes.
All right. My next question to you, so in the news, there was a bunch of persons, some of his followers, who was actually charged for breaching the curfew and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Is there any instructions from his family members to use the money from his estate to help out those followers?
Good question. I love this question. Thank you.
Okay, that's a possibility. What happened was that Mr. McCurdy, the lawyer who was with me for Mr. Smith, he represented them in court. They didn't want to try the case. They could have, but they didn't want to. They just wanted to get out of it. And so each person paid, I think, $30,000, which they paid out their pockets.
Mm-hmm.
So it was already paid for.
It's already paid for.
Okay, so it's already paid for, but so would those persons at least get a little compensation from is it the estate that's remaining?
There's a great possibility of that, depending on what is there to get out of the estate. We don't really know yet, but we are in the process of trying to know, to put together what is there. Remember also that the church building still remains there, belongs to the church. The property belongs to the church, and it's very substantial, and it's fully furnished. It's valued a lot, and that would remain with the church unless whoever is in charge decides to sell it. But I believe it's going to be a hard sell, having regard to what is alleged to have happened there. And yes, it might be a hard sell.
But my question to you on that one, you would have stated that the property wasn't fully paid for.
Yes.
So the owner of the property, at any given time after this happening, come to you for the remainder of the payment or trying to...
Yeah, man, it would have to be paid.
Happening.
It would have to be paid out of the estate.
Okay. All right. All right.
Without a doubt.
All right. No problem. And my final question to you: I saw in the news where there was one of the deceased person. There was something about insurance. Where he was the benefactor. But there was some technicalities behind it. Will you, his lawyer, be querying that, wanting that money to be paid over to his estate?
Of course not. No,
Okay.
that's vulgar.
All right.
That would not happen. Yes, that would not happen.
Wow.
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 Yeah.
So those are all my questions for the night. I think Kareem would have covered all of the other questions for all of us. I just had those one that you didn't made mention of.
Yeah, but no problem. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. All
Good
right?
questions. Very good questions.
Yes, definitely, because I was cracking up.
Yes, good question.
Oh, God have mercy. Yeah, I thank you for calling Bwoyatingz After Dark. My name is Kareem. I'm here with Mrs. Robertson. What's your name and where you're calling from?
Okay. Hi, Kareem. I don't want to say my name, but just to let you know, I'm calling from overseas.
No
I
problem.
only have something quick to say.
Yes.
As far as the Airbnb with that lady,
Mhm.
because I have close connection with the person who rented it,
Yes,
he did not own the house at the time.
that's right.
He
You're
was going to
correct.
own the house in a couple of days.
Yes. It was
So
good
when
process.
she rented it from here in the United States, you know, you go online on the Airbnb, she paid $2,300 for it. So when she got there, they were having trouble with the water. I don't know if the previous owner had some water issues or something. She was the one who called the police, not him, because he had some security there who locked them in. He found out they were there. He did not own the house at the time. It was going to be a couple of days later that he would own the property. And she went to the police.
No, the police
And she
came
has
to the
a
property.
video and everything.
The
I'm
police came to the property.
Yes,
She
because
didn't
she
go
went
to them, and the police
station.
did not interfere because he had papers to show he was the owner.
She went to the police station. She went to the police station, and the police called him from the police station. And then she went back there. He refused to come to the property. He had his security or whoever those men were that came to the property. He did not own the property. It was like another 3 or 4 days that he would sign off on the property. They left because of water conditions and because they were chained. This was a house, this was like about 10 people who were most Americans with a young baby, less than a year old. They had
10
to
people in
scale the
one
fence and the wall.
So basically,
So
you're saying that he was not the owner at the time.
He was not the owner for a couple of days. They were in the midst of selling the property,
Right.
but it was not his yet. He heard they were there. She already paid, because you know how they do Airbnb.
Yeah.
Right? She already paid from here. When she got there, they had water issues. She had to reach out to the host and whatever. You know the Airbnb
Yeah.
have their host, not the owner, or whatever. He had security there. So when they complained and they said they can't stay in the place, there was a young baby there, less than a year old. It was like 10 people.
So, can you tell us who they rented the property from?
I don't want to say that on the radio.
No, not the
But-
name, not the name. It was someone in the United
Someone
States.
here in the United States.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
Okay.
Who sold the property to him.
Yes.
But like, say they went to Jamaica on the 10th, right? I'm just using the
Yeah,
state
man.
as-
Yes, I
And he would
understand.
own the property until like the 15th. You see what I'm saying? So he
Yes.
still didn't own the property yet. But because they had water issues, and because it was a whole mess. Because they even had someone who stole the
It
Jamaican.
was
who stole their money
very
while they were
messy,
there.
and if you know how
Yeah.
properties are sold and transferred in Jamaica, it is difficult for anybody to say when it is, at what point I own the property. It is very difficult to
but
say.
they had a closing date set though.
Yeah.
So he didn't own it yet. So they had a closing date set. But because he had his security there, because he knew the owner at the time lives overseas. So because he knew they live overseas, he was trying to show ownership there. They didn't want to stay because of the water issues. And because he wouldn't get the water issues resolved. I don't know if the owner had like a big water bill and they turned off the water or something. They had water issues there. So they wanted to leave. That's when the security said they couldn't leave and chain the gate. So they had to go over fence and walls and whatever. And again, I'm saying this, with a young baby. A baby that was about 8-9 months old.
Yeah, that was the story that I
had their
heard.
money stolen from the house. They spent
Well,
the
the accounts are very similar. The accounts are very similar.
The what account?
Yeah, like what
they
the
did go to the
lady
police
is saying,
station?
or what your friend is saying happened, and what he's saying happened is very similar. There are just some areas
but just to show you that he
that
wanted
they
money
can't
from them,
meet.
though, when she already did the Airbnb through the owner at the time, so she didn't need to pay him. They already paid $2,300.
Yeah, I understand that. I understand that, and maybe he could have let that go. Maybe he could have let it go because of the circumstances. I don't have a problem with that. I probably would have.
They left there.
Yes.
And they went to stay somewhere else because after that they said wasn't coming back. These were all Americans, by the way, just so that you know, black Americans and white people.
Yeah.
They said they would never come back to Jamaica, but when they left and someone took them to another place, they enjoyed it and they changed their opinion. And just to let you know.
So how many people were
Airbnb
in this
about
house?
their $2,300.
What
it
you said?
9 plus a baby.
9. Oh, that's quite a number.
Plus a baby. So when they left there and went to stay elsewhere, they had every good thing to say about Jamaica.
Yeah.
And Airbnb made sure that $2,300 was put back on their card.
Yes.
Because they had videos and everything to show.
Yeah, and that would have been put on. That would have been put back on by the owners that she rented from.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because at the time he didn't own it, so he didn't have any right to lock them in the place.
Definitely not.
He disagrees with you,
and
though.
The police did go there, and the police called him on the phone first, and he said he's not coming to police station. So they said they'll go there. When they go there, he agreed to meet the police there. He was not there. He sent his coonies, whatever.
Yeah, that's not the report I got from the police. So.
Okay, and see, and even that's why someone needs to talk to the lady. And even at $300 and something was stolen from them.
Well, it's just this. Appreciate you calling in about the issue, but it's water under the bridge now. He's dead, so that's not an issue. I
just wanted to make that clear.
Yes,
to say
really.
He didn't own the house at the time,
Yeah.
and they did pay the money.
Yes.
Wow. But thank you so much, though. I appreciate you for calling.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
I really do appreciate you for calling in.
5 minutes left.
Mrs. Robertson. Yeah, what do I mean by that? Jesus Christ, but yeah. Question. The whole spitting thing.
Yes.
Must spitting at the people them face and the things them. What is that?
He said he didn't spit on anybody. He blows it.
But we
No,
were
man.
seeing
you
the
see,
video.
No.
So what was he blowing? Think a Bible? The holy water?
You don't know. They do these things, them all blow.
But it was spit because then the lady.
Hello, when they jump in Pocomania, them
So
blow
what was
the
it?
white
What
rum.
was it?
He was
According
blowing.
to him. Blowing
it's a
what?
Part of, what's him? Ritual, him Holy Spirit, or whatever them call
But then,
it.
if he was blowing anything,
Yes.
we would have seen where he would have been filling back his mouth with the
No,
liquid
he did
substance.
not that he had anything in his mouth.
But then we
He's
could have
blowing.
seen where
Like-
liquid was being spotted
No, he
on
wasn't
the
blowing
person's.
liquid. That's you misinterpreted.
So what is it?
I mean, you can blow breeze on your ear, upon you.
So why the person did not fight him then?
Eh?
The woman where did start jump up and fight him because he was spitting in their faces.
Well, maybe spit came out when he blew on them, but
Can I
other
send you back the video
persons-
that I saw?
I watched it, Kareem.
And it wasn't spit.
Open your mind. Open your mind.
No, my man can't.
You saw no spit, Kareem. You saw no spit. You are just reading what you want to read into it.
Okay.
And it may very well be that when him blow on them, they come. If spit come out on them, but
Okay.
come on.
All right, noted.
Yeah, man.
But we're running out of time though. I must say thank you so much for being here. Thank you for staying the entire duration of the show.
Yes.
I appreciate it, and I appreciate you. We might have our differences in our beliefs,
Of
but
course.
you know,
Most likely.
when you're educated individuals, we can agree to disagree.
That's
And you know, I appreciate you for being here. Believe you me, anytime I'm getting ready for come back, you can come back. Right? So I'm opening my doors to you. Thank you so much, QC. Thank you so much for you know, shedding light somewhat, you know, about some of the instances or about some of the things that we're seeing in the media.
Yeah.
You know, so thank you once again. And anytime you're ready, or anytime I have no case or nothing, are you mega call? Yeah, understand? So you have to go represent me now from now on. Yeah.
I'm going to say you play the testimony.
But you thank you guys for letting us trend. I said that we're trending 4 or 5 times on the trending list right now. So you know, thank you so much for the immense support. Thank you all for tuning in. We're gonna post this content for this episode on Thursday at 7 p.m. so you can actually see the entire interview. Big up to the Bombcast. Thank you for tonight. Big up to DJ Ramsey Nova 876 and Davian. Thank you. Remember guys, this episode came to you courtesy of Campari Grapefruit. That's easy for we. Remember to follow me on all socials. And remember, no matter what you're going through, there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. So keep going. Remember, say things from King Bwoyatingz himself. Ramsey just play music until 11 o'clock. You understand? Thank you guys once again. Until next week, Tuesday. My name is Kareem Bwoyatingz on Bwoyatingz After Dark, right here on Newstalk 93 FM.